Good morning, students. Welcome back to our 10th class English. And today we are continuing our lesson, What is My Name? What is My Name? Written by P. Satyavati. In the story, we met a young woman who was educated, cultured, intelligent, who had a good sense of humor, and we also learned that she got married to a young man, falling for her beauty and intelligence. Attracted by her beauty and intelligence, a young man came and married her. After marriage, her life has totally changed. What happened to her life? Husband called her Ammudu, and he encouraged or appreciated this young woman for her swabbing and decorating of the house with the Mughal designs. So she made this decoration and swabbing of the house as her chief mission in her life. She enjoyed. Years passed by. She had 2 children. Her life was going on. And after some years, she identified, or one day she got a question which shook her life. And what was the question? What is her name? She forgot her name. How did she forget her name? She forgot her name in her scrubbing seal. Seal means that enthusiasm of doing that. In her scrubbing skill and decorating the Mughal designs with the house with the Mughal designs, she forgot entirely her name. So she lost her identity. Suddenly, when she is looking outside, she can see the house across the road had a name board which carried the name of a woman, and I'm Suhasini, the principal of some college. So when she sees that name, she identifies that she doesn't know her own name. So she thought somebody else may be knowing her name. That time, her maid servant came to her for doing her household works, other works. She asked her maid servant whether the maid servant knew her name. And surprisingly, we know that maid servants, they don't call their mistress with their name. She very plainly said she has no use of this name, and she never used her name also. She says that she had been using the identity was the white storied house mistress. So like that, when identity was based on their house. And again, she expects a good answer. She expects her name from her children. Children gives another surprising answer, that they had never known her name because they were using only one term, Amma. Every time children used to call this young woman with the name Amma. And even if a letter comes, it will be addressed in the name of father. And their children have never heard husband or neighbors, anybody calling her with the name. So that was really shocking for her. Then she suddenly thought about the letters. It is true. Whatever letter comes, it was in the name of her husband. And even if it is for her, Mrs. Murthy. And she thought about her father and mother. They never write letter. They always call her, make a call. Even sisters. They are also having the same mission in their life of cleaning, decorating their houses with Mughal designs. So they also never talk about the name. And even if she meets their sisters in some ceremonies or functions, they will be discussing about the new designs of Mughal, or they'll be discussing about the new recipes. So they never had a chance of telling the name of this young woman. So she identifies these things. Suddenly, same day, she was growing, she was disturbed, perturbed. That's the word used there, perturbed. And a neighbor came to her to invite her to the kumkum ceremony. You know what is kumkum ceremony when it is performed and all. And in that kumkum ceremony, that neighbor came to invite this young woman to this kumkum ceremony. So she had a hope whether the neighbor would know the name. But neighbor also answered, we never use your name. Instead, your identity is the tall and fair lady, or the pharmaceutical manager's wife, or else white-storied house mistress. So these were the terms. The auntie that belongs to the white-storied house, or the pharmaceutical manager's wife. That is, what is her husband? Pharmaceutical company's manager. Pharmaceutical means it is related with the medicines and all. So she never had an identity with her name, and she was called with either with the house identity or with the husband's name. So she was quite disturbed, and now only one hope she had was her husband. Husband came that evening, and during supper, she very eagerly asked whether he knew her name. And he started laughing, burst out laughing, thinking what happened to his wife, why she was asking such strange questions. And he also very frankly says that he doesn't, he calls him Amudu or Yamoyanda. And she had never asked him to call her by her name. So he too doesn't know her name. And that was shocking news for her. And she really, our mistress was getting a little bit irritated too. Then he also asked, what is use of a name now? You can be called as Mrs. Murthy. Aren't you being called as Mrs. Murthy? All are calling you as Mrs. Murthy, no? What is the problem? So addressed in her husband's name. She is being addressed in her husband's name. But that was not a satisfying answer. She wanted to know her own name. She wanted to know her own name. Okay, so again, husband is not that serious about her enquiry or the queries or the questions she asked. So what did he do? He told, okay, do one thing, you change your name. Take a new name. If you have forgotten your own name, change your name. This really irritates and make the wife furious, and says whether he would like to change his name Satyanarayana Murthy to some other name. Like, do you like to change your name to Shivarao Sundararao? So when she asked this question, maybe he understood the intensity of her, how much she wanted to know her own name. So suddenly he said, you are educated. You are educated. You will have some certificates. Certificates will carry the name. So you find out your name from the certificates. She was really happy for such an idea. So she went, after supper, she went frantically, she was searching her certificates in the almara. Birua or the almara given there. But she could not find any certificates there. Instead, you can see pattu saris, chiffon saris, handloom saris, voile saris, matching blouses, petticoats, bangles, beads, pearls, pins, kumkum, barina, silver plates, silver containers. So these are the things she finds in the almara. That means she's leading a good and happy life. She is having all the things, all types of sarees is there. In an orderly fashion, but she could, nowhere she could find her certificates. So after marriage, she had never bothered about carrying the certificates to this. Now where would she get the certificate? From her own house. That means she has to go to her own house. So suddenly she asked her husband, She wanted to go to her own house for 2 days. And the funny answer or the thing what husband says her, going 2 days away from this house will create some troubles. What are the troubles when this housewife leaves the house for 2 days? There won't be anybody to clean the house. There won't be anybody to decorate the house with mugloos because husband has his own works. Children should study. Who will take care of the house? And she is very good at handling this type of things at house. So nobody else can be replaced with doing these things. So how much you can understand one way she is good at this swabbing, and another way husband says who will do these things. But her mind was very once if we have in our life it is a problem. If when we face a challenge in our, when we face a problem in our life, when we have a question in our life, we have to get an answer for that. So she had to neglect all these things, swabbing, muglu designings of that muglu design, all those things. She had to leave and she had to go. So she asked permission to leave, and the children and husband, she had to leave, and she asked permission because she could not leave without knowing her name. She couldn't leave without knowing her name. Up to now it was all right because she had never had a problem of this. She had never a question that what about her name. She never questioned about her name. She didn't know that she had forgotten her name. So it was very hard to leave without a name. She identified that she had to find out her name. So what happens? She had to go to her own home. Now so she says, just somehow you have to, the husband and children had to manage these things at the house. She has to go to her own house. The remaining story is in her house. What happened to her? Did she find her name? Was she happy when she understood her name? Did she get her identity back? And what was wrong? Did she identify what was the wrong decision that made her forget the name? So this one will continue next week, since it's a little big story, a big lesson. We have to divide it into 3 parts. So let us meet next week with the remaining part and the conclusion of the story. Thank you.